The moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. Jesus is arrested. The disciples scatter. And Peter? What he does next will not only shock you, it will break your heart. Season 6 of The Chosen doesn't ease us into the storm. It throws us straight into the fire, right where Season 5 left off, in the dead of night, in the Garden of Gethsemane, with betrayal hanging in the air like a sword about to fall. But this time, it's not just betrayal that changes everything. It's what Peter does next that will leave you speechless. Season 6 opens in silence, but not a peaceful one. It's the kind of silence that comes before a storm. The disciples are still reeling from Judas's disappearance, unaware that the trap has already been set. The Garden of Gethsemane, once a place of peace, is now surrounded. Temple guards, high priests, and Roman soldiers move like shadows through the trees, and leading them is Judas. His face is pale, his hands shake, but his decision is made. The kiss comes quickly, quietly. A signal, a betrayal dressed as affection. And just like that, everything changes. The guards rush forward, the disciples freeze. Except Peter. Peter doesn't hesitate. He sees Judas, sees the torches, sees the fear in the eyes of his friends, and something inside him snaps. This isn't just about defending Jesus. This is about protecting everything they've built, everything they believed in. Without thinking, Peter draws his sword and charges. He strikes hard, fast, cutting off the ear of Malchus, the servant of the high priest. Blood spills, screams echo. The world turns violent in an instant. But then Jesus does something no one expects. He doesn't run, he doesn't fight, he doesn't hide behind his disciples. Instead, he bends down and heals. Even in this moment, betrayed, surrounded, and moments from being dragged away, he chooses compassion. He touches the wounded man and restores what Peter tore away. And in that quiet, powerful gesture, the tone for the entire season is set. Jesus will not resist. He will surrender, not out of weakness, but out of strength. Peter is stunned, his sword still warm in his hand, his heart racing. And Jesus turns to him, not with anger, but with sorrow. "Put your sword away," he says. And that one sentence cuts deeper than any blade, because now it's real. Jesus is arrested. The disciples panic. Some run, some hide, some just stand there paralyzed by fear. But Peter follows, not close, from a distance. The same man who just moments ago swung a sword in the dark now walks quietly through the shadows, watching, waiting, hoping this nightmare will end before it truly begins. But it's just getting started. As Jesus is dragged before the temple council, Peter creeps into the outer courtyard. It's cold, the fire crackles, strangers surround him, servants, soldiers, onlookers. No one knows him here. At least, not yet. Then someone recognizes him. "You were with him," they say. Peter's heart pounds. He shakes his head. "I don't know what you're talking about." One denial. Minutes later, another voice. "You're one of his disciples, aren't you?" Again, Peter denies it. Louder this time. Angrier, more desperate. 2 denials. Finally, a third accusation. "I saw you with him in the garden." And this time, Peter swears, "I don't know the man." 3 denials, just like Jesus said. And in that moment, the rooster crows. Peter turns, and Jesus looks at him, just a glance. No words, no judgment, just sorrow, love, pain. Peter's breath catches in his chest, his knees give out, and he runs, not to fight, not to save, but to weep. This is the man who walked on water, the man who declared he'd die for Jesus. And now he's broken, shattered, not by the sword, but by his own failure. This moment is the emotional center of season 6, because it's not just about betrayal, it's about identity, about fear, about what happens when faith is tested and you realize you're not as strong as you thought you were. And Peter's not the only one unraveling. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is nearby, watching, powerless. Her eyes follow her son as he's dragged from one false trial to the next. She remembers the angel, the promises, the songs of joy. And now, All she sees is chains and blood. Matthew stares blankly into the night, trying to make sense of it all. Thomas holds back tears, remembering the miracles that once seemed to promise a future. Andrew trembles, replaying the Sermon on the Mount in his head, clinging to words that now feel like a dream slipping away. And Judas? He stands alone. Somewhere in the darkness, silver coins heavy in his hand, staring at the path he chose. He thought he was forcing Jesus' hand. He thought he could speed up the kingdom. But now, he realizes what he's done. He didn't start a revolution. He started the crucifixion. The weight of this night is unbearable. But it must be felt. Because this is where everything changes, where belief is tested, where loyalty is shattered, and where the most human parts of these followers are exposed. Fear, doubt, shame. This isn't the climax. This is the fall before the rise, the silence before resurrection. And Peter's breakdown is only the beginning, because his next move will define him forever. The night after Jesus' arrest stretches long and unbearable. The city of Jerusalem feels as if it's holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. Inside the high priest's house, Jesus is mocked, beaten, and questioned. The religious leaders plot in the shadows, sure that they've won. But outside, in the cold darkness, Peter's world continues to crumble. When dawn breaks, the first light does little to soften the agony in Peter's heart. The rooster's crowing still echoes in his mind, the sting of his own betrayal burning deeper than any wound. Peter is consumed by shame, guilt, and a desperate need for redemption. He knows what he's done. He knows he swore to be loyal, to stand by Jesus no matter what. And yet, he crumbled. The reality of his failure begins to sink in, and with it comes the haunting question, can he ever come back from this? But there's a deeper, more terrifying question that plagues Peter's mind. Jesus is about to face trials that will shake the very foundations of everything they've believed. How will the other disciples react? Will anyone else fail in the way he did? What does Jesus think of him now? And that's the brutal truth Peter faces. Jesus knew this would happen. He knew Peter would deny him. And yet, Jesus chose him as a leader, as a rock. Peter's heart aches with that knowledge. He realizes that it's not about what he's done. It's about who Jesus is, and who he, Peter, is supposed to be. As the hours tick by, the sense of urgency begins to grow. The disciples begin to regroup. They gather in secret, away from the watchful eyes of the authorities. Tensions run high. Their world has turned upside down, and yet they continue to try and make sense of what's unfolding. The fear, the anger, the confusion, it's all too much to bear. But amid the chaos, Peter is missing. He has gone off on his own, away from the group, seeking solace in the quiet. He needs space to wrestle with his feelings, with the weight of his failure. As he walks through the streets, the guilt presses down on him like an unbearable burden. He recalls the love Jesus showed him, the moments when he called Peter out of the boat, when he forgave him for his impulsiveness and lack of faith. How could he, the man who had experienced all of this grace, betray Jesus in such a way? In the silence, Peter finally breaks down. He falls to his knees in the middle of the street, tears flooding his face. It's in this raw, vulnerable moment that Peter realizes the full extent of his failure, not just in the garden, but in every moment he chose fear over faith, self-preservation over trust. The road ahead seems impossible. How can he, a man so broken, stand in the light again? Can he ever be the leader he was meant to be? Can Jesus ever forgive him for what he's done? And that's when something extraordinary happens. Jesus' trial reaches its climax. The religious leaders, desperate to make their case, twist every word he speaks. The crowd roars, demanding his crucifixion. The soldiers beat him, and yet, in the middle of it all, Jesus remains silent. He remains steadfast. He endures it all. And in that moment, Peter realizes something he has failed to grasp before. Jesus is doing this willingly. He's choosing this path. And it's not just for the world. It's for Peter. It's for everyone who has ever failed, denied, or betrayed. Jesus is walking into this storm for all of them. for all of us. Peter's mind races. Could this be the moment of redemption? Could Jesus, in his infinite grace, offer him another chance? Could he ever be whole again? The turning point for Peter comes when the trial is over. The moment he thought would be the darkest in his life is only the beginning. The morning comes, and he knows Jesus is about to be sentenced to death. He cannot wait any longer. He cannot hide from his guilt any longer. Peter seeks out his brothers, the disciples, and finally, after what seems like an eternity of silence, they gather together once more. It's here, in this moment of shared pain and loss, that something shifts. Peter begins to understand that he's not alone. This wasn't just his failure, it's a failure shared by all of them. They all ran, they all hid, they all faltered. But somehow, Jesus' love has remained constant, even when they were at their lowest. As the hours stretch on, the disciples receive word that Jesus has been condemned. The weight of this moment is almost too much to bear. But Peter, finally free from the overwhelming weight of shame, begins to understand that this isn't the end. Jesus didn't come to condemn him. He came to restore him. And so, as they prepare to leave for the next phase of their journey, Peter makes a choice. He chooses to believe in the hope that Jesus has shown him, even in the face of his own darkest moment. He chooses to be the leader that Jesus always knew he could be, not because he is perfect, but because Jesus has always seen the potential in him. This is Peter's moment of rebirth. As the events unfold, Jesus is led to the cross. The weight of the world presses down on him as he carries the instrument of his own execution. And Peter, now fully awake to the depth of his failure and the enormity of Jesus' sacrifice, makes a decision. He will not run anymore. He will face the truth of what he has done, and he will stand firm. In the coming days, Peter's journey will take him to places of sorrow and reflection, but it will also take him to the place where Jesus, the resurrected Lord, will appear to him once more and offer him the chance to be made whole. In that moment, Peter will realize that redemption is not a one-time event. It's a process. And as he walks alongside the risen Jesus, he will know deep in his heart that his failure was never the end of his story. It was the beginning of something new. As the final scene of Season 6 closes, the question lingers in the air. What will Peter do next? Will he continue to live in shame, or will he embrace the grace that's been offered to him? In that moment, the road to Peter's redemption is set into motion. His next move will be the first step toward healing, reconciliation, and a mission greater than anything he could have imagined. It's not over. For Peter, and for us.